tour of my home print studio. It's small, simple and filled with all the things I need to make hand printmaking a real pleasure. Proof that you don't need a big fancy space to enjoy hand printing at home. I'll show the tools that I reach for most often, how I keep everything within easy reach, which is fairly simple because it's a very small space, and things that you might like to bring into your own space as well. No matter where you are on your creative journey, your printmaking journey, I hope this inspires you to create a space that feels like a happy place for you and your art. I'm Ruth and I make videos from my tiny shed studio in Bristol, UK. I help artists to deepen their practice through hand printing at home. If you would like to add printmaking to your art practice but you don't know where to start, you're in luck because my 10-week course, Hand Printing Happiness, is open for enrolment. I'm afraid if you're watching this after the 18th of May, you're too late, enrolment is closed. It's a comprehensive 10-week course taking you from setting up your home print studio all the way through to making frameable art on paper and beyond, taking printmaking into your practice. The link is below. Right, let's get started. So this is my commute to the studio. This is the back door, and I've got a typical terraced house, courtyard garden, just lots of pots. And it takes me approximately 10 seconds to get to my studio. So it really is actually a very small distance, but that distance does make a difference. It feels like I am out of the house and I'm doing art stuff. So it's really nice to come out here. And in we go. And my cat Pearl has got in here before me. Okay, so here we are in the shed. Now it's a really sunny morning this morning, so we've got lots of sunlight in here. It can be pretty cold. Now this is only 8 foot by 8 foot. Okay, so it is essentially a summer house that was bought, you know, one of these garden summer houses, and then we've actually put insulation into the ceilings and the walls and covered those with plywood as well. So it's probably slightly less actually than 8 foot by 8 foot with all the insulation in it. So I have my lovely drawers here. Now these are old school drawers, and this is where I keep older work. I've got some cyanotypes here, that older work that I used to do. I've got some workshop pieces, some collage pieces here. Yeah. So these are lovely old drawers that I bought, and it was a substitute as a plan. It really is a plan chest, but really useful, I have to say, for keeping all my work in flat as well, and easy to get at. And then on the top here, I've got the things that I'm working on at the moment. So I'm working on a series here of dry points and chine collé. So they're just easy to get to, and they can just be picked up and put down anytime I like. And that's kind of my, almost like a working surface for me. And then up here, I've actually, these are my rods. It looks pretty messy at the moment. It is a bit messy, but this is just, I've just got some string here, some hooks at the top here, and it's just holding my rolls of paper up off the floor. It's got some hanging stuff here, some older large hangings here. These are large hangings rolled up. And there's no other real place to put them. So I kind of created this system where I just sort of hang things up on the wall with this hook and strings. And I've got some more there as well. In the corner here, which is kind of dead space really, because I couldn't really do anything with the corner if I wanted workspaces, I've actually put all my framed pieces that aren't up and out at the moment. So they're a bit of a pain to get out, but actually they are fine there for the moment, if need be. And then this is my main working area here. So this is actually, looks really dirty, it's actually a big piece of Perspex plastic, and it's most often what I use to print on. I've got my stool here as well, my very old stool, which I perch on to print, although quite often I'm standing. So I've bought this from the hardware store, B&Q in Britain, and they'll cut it down for you for the right size as well. So this basically just covers my whole table. And what it means is I can roll ink out as big as this whole piece of plastic and create really, really big monoprints if I wanted. And I have done that before. So it can be really useful. Some tables, of course, have this sort of flat, shiny surface anyway. So you might be able to just use a table that you have, whether they're covered in glass or some kind of plastic or formica. You could just use that if you wanted to print. And then under here, I actually have, this is my 100-day project pile. It's a little bit messy at the moment. But I've also just got a couple of smaller pieces as well that I use as sort of palettes and to just for doing smaller prints, basically. And then here I have, now this was an old CD rack, basically. I think it was an IKEA originally, but it's great for all these little pigeonholes, these cubby holes. So I tend to use oil paint. So these are oil paints. I tend to use it mostly for printing. I sometimes use relief inks as well, but mostly it's oil paint. And I also have my rice glue here as well, or nori paste it's sometimes called. And this is basically what I almost always use for chine colle or collage in any way. Down here, and these are the ones I use the absolute most, these cubby holes. I've got my burnishers. So this is a little baron, and this is a traditional Japanese baron, so it's made of bamboo. And I also have my little rollers as well, so really easy to get to. These are the things I use the most. I've got a tiny little roller there as well. And I also have tons and tons of spatulas, and I just have lots of offcuts of mount board, and they work absolutely fine. There's nothing else I would be able to do with them anyway because they're such tiny pieces. And again, I use those all the time. So that is probably my most used cubby hole, and everything tends to just get shoved in there. Got some more oil paints here, some slightly different colours that I don't use quite as much, and my trusty wallpaper brush, which actually is really good for just getting wrinkles out of tissue paper collage. And I've got another video about that, how I use that, if you're interested, and I'll link that. Lots of different things here. I've got scrap tissue paper. I've got some dry things I use for dry point here, so that's just some scrim and some greaseproof paper. I've got my trusty kitchen towel, which I always use. Lots of bits and pieces. And here I have my bits of paint or ink that I haven't used, but I don't want to chuck in the bin, and I just wrap them up in foil. I've got lots of bits of these. You've got to remember that you've got them, that's the only thing. Just wrap them up in oil. It keeps the air away from them, and certainly oil-based ink, that will keep for ages, and you can use that again. So that's my little stash of foil packets. Loads and loads of rags. I have tons of rags, and I've got another whole box under this table, and that's what I use for cleaning up alongside vegetable oil. So this I have within easy reach. I use vegetable oil to clean up. I find it, well, it's non-toxic obviously, which is great, and I just put it on, use some rags to wipe away, and it's so simple and no smells, completely non-toxic. And if you're not using paintbrushes, you really don't need terps, I would suggest. So yeah, not a problem at all to clean up with vegetable oil and rags. And then up at the top here, what have I got? I've got, this is my spare mount board bit, which I cut my spatulas out of. And then I've got some sketchbooks. I've got some, this is my foil stash. And then also I've got some inspirational photographs here, and some old sort of bits of paper, cartridge paper that I can use to draw on, to sketch on, so that's really useful. Just a couple of sentimental things here, gifts from friends, a poet friend, and this is labradorite, which catches the sunlight. I don't know if you can see that, and it just inspires me. It's such a beautiful iridescent colour when the sun hits it, so I keep that there. My handy radio, Radio 6, pretty much always tuned to Radio 6, BBC Radio 6. I've got some fingerless gloves here for when it gets really cold in the winter, which it does. And then here I actually have, so this whole thing, I don't know if you can see it very well, it's actually an old shop fitting for wrapping paper, you know, where they put it over the edges, and they were getting rid of it. They were closing a shop down, getting rid of it. I paid about 20 quid for it. It's been so useful. So I sometimes use it for display purposes, but right now I just use it to hang up paper. So I keep a stash of sort of little bits of tissue paper, smallish bits of tissue paper right here. And that is because when you're hand printing, you really often, there's a ghost print or there's something that you want to take off your surface, and you just need a little bit of paper, and you can keep it. Brilliant for collage, brilliant for chine-collé. So I always have this stash here as well, and this stash is actually just for cutting the sunlight out. I sometimes just put it against the windows, but it's really useful for just hanging things on. Sometimes I dry prints on there as well. The sun comes through. Got my aprons here as well, and this is kind of the boring bit, but you do need a bin nearby. So this is my little bin, and it's right next to my stool, so I will sit on my stool. Bin is there, things that I need are here, and my surface is here. The reason I suggest having a bin nearby is because you will need to clear up. You need to clear up after each colour quite a lot. If you've got loads of rags and oil things, all oiled stuff and coloured stuff all over here, you will be bound to get it onto your prints when you don't want to. So I really suggest every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, just having a bit of a clear up. And having the bin nearby really sort of encourages you to do that. And up here I've just got hooks going into the ceiling there with some bulldog clips, and that's my little improvised drying rack. So I've got a few things on there at the moment, but that works fine for me. So normally this is a bit more of a bigger space. At the moment I've got my 100-day project things kind of sitting in a big pile. So this is my 100-day project. It's called 100 day hashtag 100 days of poetry in print, and I am creating a mixed media book, mark by mark, from this found poetry book. So I have lots of little plates here, little printing plates. This is dry point plate on aluminium. I've got a colograph plate, and I've been playing around trying to print these into the book with some success. And these are some of these I made for workshops, just little plates. So these are the kind of things that you can print in a little workshop studio like this. You can do quite in-depth, complex printmaking. It doesn't just have to be monoprint on a flat surface. So I've got loads of this there, and then I've also got, so these are all my little plates. And lots of collage papers as well, as you might imagine. So I'm doing quite a bit of collaging into the book, but I do a lot of collage anyway. So I'm afraid there is no rhyme or reason to this. There is no system. It tends to just pile up. But I quite like that. It often gives me ideas of things to do when things are just juxtaposed next to each other like that. They often just give me ideas without me having to think too much, which I quite like. So that is essentially the studio. I can literally sit on my stool here in the middle, and I can turn around, I can see all my stuff, I can get all my stuff, I can look on things over here, I can take a little bit of distance from here, and I really am in just an 8-foot by 8-foot studio. So it goes to show that you can just have a corner and make really good art in the corner. I hope that's shown you how simple and easy it can be to start hand printing at home. If you'd like to go further and learn how to monoprint, make and print with printing plates, combine all of these techniques into a no rules, low tech way of making art, then take a look at Hand Printing Happiness, my 10-week course. So the link is down in the description. Right, I'll see you in the studio, and happy printing.